Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Madeline from Hyro here, and I'm thrilled to be your session host today. Thank you so much for joining us. Throughout the session, feel free to type your questions into the chat, which I'll be moderating. Our speakers today are going to be Elbridge Locklear, who's the Senior Vice President, Chief Information Officer at Summa Health, and David Wright, who is the founder and CEO of Disruptive Innovations. They're here to present the future of healthcare AI-driven innovations. David, the mic is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madeline, and grateful for the opportunity to collaborate with you all today. I'm David Wright. I'm the founder and CEO of Disruptive Innovations. We're a digital business and IT consulting firm headquartered in New York, and we work with healthcare providers throughout the United States and now into the UK, mainly surrounding customer experience optimization. And when we say customer, we mean human, patient, our colleagues. And so on. And with me, I have my esteemed colleague, Elbridge. Elbridge, maybe you could do a quick introduction yourself.
Yes, Elbridge Locklear, CIO at Summa Health. Been here since March of 21. And Summa Health is a small health system in Akron, Ohio.
Yeah, thanks for that, Elbridge. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and bear with me. This is the first time I'm using this platform. So hopefully here in a moment, you guys will be able to see. So we've collaborated with Hyro. Actually, Summa happens to be a mutual client, which we'll talk a little bit about today, and we have a number of other kind of collaborations, in the healthcare ecosystem. But we wanted to take a step back and kind of take a broader lens towards navigating the future of this patient agent experience and looking at how AI is helping to facilitate that, but also really staying grounded in our purpose, the mission, and why now it's more important than ever. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes and kind of set the stage for kind of what we're seeing in the healthcare uh, market, if you will, and on the provider side, and then I'm going to turn it over to Elbridge to kind of get into some of the details of what he's seeing at Summa specifically, and then we'll kind of volley back and forth from there, and then open it up for some questions. Um, so setting the stage, in our body of work, really, our purpose of what we do and what we try to stay grounded in with the health systems that we serve is to make it as easy as possible for patients to get the access and high quality care that they need, right? As simple as that. And I think staying grounded in that is really important for us. And we all have recognized now that there's opportunities not only to increase brand loyalty with better CX solution, but also drive revenue growth by creating these personalized, convenient, and compassionate experiences. So not only can we enhance the patient's experience, but we can drive revenue growth and loyalty. And in this market, expectations are higher than ever. We have competition from outpatient providers. We have new entrants, telehealth. We have the financial pressures mounting. So it's really important um, that we take action. And it's interesting. We've seen this convergence in CX, right? Where you used to have your telephony and your IT over here, and your clinical applications over there. And sure, there would be integration, here and there, right? But now what we're seeing is across these systems, engagement, experience, interaction, mobility, management, notification, and record, uh, they're all communicating now, right? And in fact, it's an equation of figuring out sometimes of where these features and benefits are going to live, right? Where you have enterprise platforms that can do A, B, C, and D, some that can do B, C, D, and E. How are you maximizing investments in the enterprise platforms you're already committed to? How are you taking advantage of best of breed where appropriate and minimizing points of failure? It's a tricky tricky equation, but we see that taking a broad lens, right? So we like to say, think big, start small, right? So you can't boil the ocean, right? We acknowledge that, but you don't want to make a decision in a vacuum, right? So we're talking about technology today, but we're also talking about looking at people, process, methodology, and technology, right? To really understand not only, okay, what are these different technologies we can look at within that ecosystem, but also what are the operational things that need to happen? What are the visions of these different groups? Where do they need specialization, right? Because we say unified access, right, and bringing things together. That doesn't mean there's not specialization, right? And I just bring this up just as an example, current state. This isn't Summa Health. This is just another academic health system. Complex environment, and all phone calls, right? So not haven't enabled any omni-channel interaction yet. And kind of how do you get your arms around this? I think really looking at those 4 pillars, the people, process, technology, methodology, is crucial, because you need to understand the interdependencies. Oftentimes, you need to reorg how we're fielding, you know, calls from patients, or ideally, from an omni-channel perspective, however they want to interact with the health system. And one thing I'll also touch on, right, is as we saw these financial pressures mounting and health systems going out and acquiring to try and get better rates with insurance, and there's a lot of macro factors, right? We saw this pressure on these access centers that weren't historically contact centers, right? We had like healthcare operations folks being pushed into these roles where they were trying to figure out how to scale and how to grow. And for example, there's health systems that are overstaffed by 10, 50, hundreds of people, because it was like, all right, we need more people to field these calls, when in fact, if we arm these people with the right tools, if we implement certain technologies, and then if we also look at the underlying performance management strategies, workforce management strategies, knowledge management strategies, we can actually do more with less, which is a common theme we hear in healthcare nowadays, right? It's because it's going to be necessary with the shortage of doctors, the shortage of nurses. I mean, if you look at the McKinsey report last year, it's pretty dire, right? So the fact that we're making these changes now is really important. The last thing I'll just touch on, because I want to turn it over to Elbridge, is continuity of experience, another really important factor. How are we maintaining that continuity? Once we do optimize our access center throughout the health system, as calls traverse the health system, I think CRM is a big part of that. Obviously the integrations between system of experience and system of record. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, and what this means by way of the evolution to a more personalized and convenient experience. So Elbridge, I mean, I know I breezed through a couple of those slides, but I've kind of landed here on some of the common business drivers for change, and I think you guys can identify with some of these. So maybe I can hand it over to you to talk a little bit about your kind of direction.
Yeah, I can pick up here, and again, to everyone, and drop any questions in the chat. That'll work. And if I'm not going into enough detail for you on any of the slides as we move forward, don't hesitate to pop in and ask questions. Just a couple of comments to kind of follow on to what David stated a little earlier. What we're struggling with is a need to increase our access to our customers, but yet we don't actually have enough providers. And if in fact we could get a lot more providers and make it more human driven, then it would just be too expensive. Given where we are here in Akron, Ohio, we can't get enough technologists from a healthcare perspective. So for example, I believe it is MRI techs or CT techs. Every single one that lives in the state has a job. So if you get someone, you're taking them from another system. So, talent acquisition and what you offer your employees is a pretty big deal. And that's just an example. Nurses, it has its own issue there. So it's important that we shift, and this is all industry shift in how they're engaging with their customers. And you'll see as we go forward that many of our customers are very much interested in controlling, in this case, controlling their healthcare, having more control, deciding what they do with their healthcare, having all of that knowledge at their fingertips. Very much like you Google almost everything before you engage with any any customer service person. It doesn't matter if it's healthcare or not. So just a couple comments from this slide here. It's very much what we stated, right? So customers are very interested when you think of omnichannel and how you engage with your customers. Customers are very interested in having that control, whether you're engaging with them via email or social media. In our case, we also have customers that still want mailers via phone call or via mobile app or from the mobile device where you do SMS messages, website. It could be about anything. But from that perspective, what we've seen is a shift from they don't just necessarily want to talk to an agent. Only complexities end up going to an agent. You'll see some of that later. But we have a big shift going to self-service. So that is where the industry is moving. And it's really on us to make that possible, right? So on this slide here, customer experience tech stack that we have for Summa, I'll just speak to this some and what we're using here at Summa. So from a system of engagement, we are currently using for our chatbot, live chat, voice assistant, Hyro platform. From our system of experience, and many of you are using the same type of tool, contact center, and ours a cloud-based contact center, but is Cisco. And that plays a key role here. And you know, when you look at this, you think of it as an entire platform, but really it is many different integrated systems. System of interaction, highly driven by our CRM, and coincidentally our CRM is Epic, is via our Epic system. And that is very important, but the bigger piece is even more important, is being integrated with all of the other systems here. And system of mobility, again, Epic, MyChart, some of you do have other EHRs, that mobile app that brings that ability for the patient to have their full electronic health record in their hand at any given time. And makes it possible for them to engage about their overall health as well. Systems of management, this is absolutely key. So you can determine what's actually happening in your operations, where you need to have more or less resources. This could be system resources, this could be people resources, where you can manage better on quality, the data, the information you're making available to your customers too. We use Calabrio today, and we also, again, integrate it with our contact center, Cisco.
Yeah,
So,
and I just wanted to add, Elbridge, that,
absolutely.
you know, you guys, one of the early adopters of Cheers. I think like one of the beauty of that is, you know, there wasn't many health systems on CRMs at all when you guys first got on Cheers, and I've seen you guys kind of be able to co-develop and kind of create that experience that you're looking to create, and you know, enrich that data. And then the other thing that I know that you guys are kind of walking down the path on is, okay, you know, we're using these systems of experience. Yes, we're going to use Teams for collaboration, but are there ways to look at the systems of experience and systems of management to, you know, collapse some of those, take advantage of economies of scale, and actually get some technology that's more feature rich in a lot of senses, particularly with the advent of Epic's workshop program. There's a couple select vendors that are in that, as well as the toolbox, and Cisco will ultimately have access to the toolbox, but you know, we can talk a little bit more about that later. So
yeah, and some of that we'll speak to, because we did, I guess what's important for everyone here, you know, is we try not to create waste, right? So to your point, we did lots of application rationalization, and yeah, we were early adopter. We were very early on for Epic CRM. We also were the very first customers on, I believe it was the prospective patients for Epic CRM. We collaborated with them, so we co-developed. It was very interesting and fun. We also have been, I believe, first or second customer that Hyro had on the AI-driven generative AI chatbot, which was pretty exciting. A couple of different things. It's not that we're the big innovators, but we are really trying hard to engage and create some way for our customers to control their healthcare.
Well, and I love that, Elbridge. I think it's important to note that, like, you guys are, like, part of this is just taking action. Like, innovation requires movement. And I think in the healthcare industry, and this is a bit of a rash generalization, right? People were afraid to make mistakes. Often people were bonused on kind of maintaining a certain level of status quo. And there was just a lot of, again, macro factors that kind of created this inertia a little bit, and it kind of trickled down culturally in the organizations we saw. But with leaders like yourself and other leaders that we're seeing now, you know, it's a really exciting time, and it's beautiful that you guys are making those strides. And I think we actually have some stuff on your systems of engagement too that you guys are working on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Let's just talk about this. So we move forward, just talk about our chat bot, live chat that we have and voice assistants through Hyro. So a couple of things to know, a little historical. We went live summer of 2023 with the conversational AI, and that was generative AI version that Hyro has. And that was a big win for us. Also live chat recently in July. That was Hyro's live chat, actually 2023. Now, what's interesting and fun is that we've now moved our health plan, Summa Care, to the chatbot as of the last month, and you'll see some of that information. And Summa Health obviously is already on that, but voice assistants went live on our provider side in the last few weeks too. Integration in flight. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Elbridge. I was just going to say that speaking to also kind of you guys at being forward thinking and not making decisions that, 3-6 months from now you would have regret. And this was forward thinking back in last year when you made it. We saw all these bots and IVAs in the markets, and I think we're going to have this consolidation similar to what we saw in the telemedicine and telehealth industry, where a lot of them are just going to get bought up, collapse, or what have you. But the fact that you guys are using non-intent based AI, right? So like not those rote kind of intent where if I offer an attribute or something that I haven't mapped out already, it's going to break the bot and I'm going to have to go to a live agent. You guys are building knowledge graphs, and it's just, you could see it. We're going to get into some of the stats. It's just it's really impressive.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Since that big change, and what was big for us is that if you think of the old bot, you have to have predefined rules and predefined answers and predefined information, right? So we know they're going to ask this, they're going to get this particular answer, and we control it. But since that go live, we no longer have to teach anymore. We have difficulty getting IT people here too. So in those older style chatbots, you've got to build all of that. So we no longer need a resource for that. This was really easy to maintain. And now that with generative AI, it's constantly learning what the customer's interested in. It's our own unique instance of this. It's very unique to our community. This works out really well. And what you'll see here in this particular slide, and it's a little bit small, so I'm going to look to the right here so I can see a couple different things on here. So looking at the lower left, and I'll tell you what it reads here, that is a little bit smaller. From a voice assistant perspective, what we're seeing in analytics and the data is really important here, right? Is now what we're seeing is the phone calls they're making, they hit the voice assistant, they're asking a lot of questions about my chart. That's important for us to know. Likely reset your password, things like we have all that data. We know they're very interested in resetting their password. They're very interested in how to get my chart. Can I do this in my chart? But also questions about Summa Health. So that's good. This is the type of data that you get. You can figure out exactly what's important to your community, and you make additional information available to them, right? Second, you look on the other side for top suggestions. Whenever they're using the chatbot, you'll find that the top suggestion is find a doctor. That's big. That means they're trying to figure out, can I find a doctor that is close to me, near me, meets my requirements, and they're engaging with the chatbot on it. Also, of course, my chart logins. A lot of people like to use the app. So one thing to know about Summa in the community we have here is that most of our demographic does not have a laptop, does not have a computer. They're largely, the way they're going to engage is mobile. We're some of the highest in the nation for the uses of MyChart.
Yeah.
I think that.
I think that's important to note too. Like part of CX strategy in general, a lot of my colleagues will actually design mobile backwards, right? Because like you said, Elbridge, that phenomenon, even for people that have computers, isn't uncommon, nationwide.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the key thing to take away at the very top, we talk about digital front door. When you think of digital front door, it's many different tools you can use. But what's important and what information you make available is going to be different by community, and how they engage
Right.
is going to be different by community. So we have a higher usage that's going to be on our application and with our chatbot, even on the mobile device, where in other communities, it could be something totally different.
Right, and you guys are an integrated system as well, so you also have the Summa Care side, right?
Oh, absolutely. So here's what you see on the SummaCare side, since we've implemented the chatbot here. Some similarities, but very different. You see where their top ask or top suggestion of the chatbot is also find a doctor, which is appropriate for a health plan. But also that dives right into documentation, starts to get the pharmaceuticals. So it is different. When you think of SummaCare being a health system, it's a member that's engaging and it's a member that's interested in information. When you think of the health plan, it's a patient that has either already seen a doctor or trying to see a doctor. So they've surpassed this or gone past this phase in many cases. And some of the information just down at the bottom that you can see thus far for SummaCare, just in the last few weeks, we've already saved 152 hours. And that's driven by, estimated times. We can actually go into the tool and we can see exactly how long our conversation lasts, right? And I was going to comment on this earlier, but I'll go ahead and comment now, is that I looked on 2 or 3 hours before the call to figure out exactly what we're seeing over the last few weeks from an engagement perspective, a chatbot. With our chatbots, the time of engagement average as of the last few weeks is 8 minutes.
Wow.
I think that's a lot. I think it's pretty high, but again, it fluctuates. I don't know if it has anything to do with going into a flu season or any of that. So
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's convenient about a chatbot, right, is it's, like for example, like I'll have an issue with Amazon and I'll be on the road and I'll take out my phone and I'll start chatting and I'll get a prompt back and I'll be at a red light and I'll drive a couple minutes and then I'll take out my phone when I'm parked and I'll look and I'll continue that, right? But that it's that convenience, right? It's on my terms, that personalization, it's significant. It's not insignificant, right?
and I did say, hey, I don't know what they're asking about. I don't personally know, right? But
Right.
we do have analytics team, our marketing team. They see all of those details, and that's why we have marketing campaigns. I know we're getting off track a little bit. But we can move on down.
No,
All
yeah,
right,
and I know
so
you guys. So you guys recently, I know on the first slide we talked about kind of that orchestration that you guys are doing now with voice assistant and intelligent routing. So I think this kind of speaks to that a little bit, right?
yeah, this is a big one here. So just major accomplishments from the voice assistants being just in the last few weeks. So if you remember the 80-20 rule when it comes to answering calls from a contact center perspective. So 80% of your calls need to be answered in 20 seconds and they get to the right place, right? So what
Right.
you're seeing here is 72+% of the engagements, which you see here is 1,132 engagements. 72.4% of those get routed without a human being. That's pretty good, right? So that should
Right.
keep us under that 20 seconds with no problem. And the remaining ones that end up going to a human being are usually more complicated. And you see the week over week time frame below, and it's only been a few weeks or so we've been live.
Yeah, and I want to comment, like Elbridge, in regard to kind of where you guys are going with integrating your contact center platform with Epic, initially via third party, but then ultimately natively and then using Cheers and Call Hub to pop that information. Patient's already been authenticated. The difference for an agent, right, in being able to say, Elbridge, this is Elbridge, correct? You're just confirm your birthday. Da, 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 da. I see you broke your leg, a few months ago, and how are you feeling? And you're kind of disarmed. You're like, oh well, it kind of sucks, but I'm doing a little better. And engaging the patient in that way, because the calls that are more commoditized, for lack of a better word, are being handled in an automated fashion, it can enable me to be there with the patient. And then the tools that we're going to have, that initial screen pop, natural language processing, which we'll get into a little bit, and how we can feed next best action via Copilot, and move that right into different triage workflows, or auto summarize the call and then feed that directly into Epic. I mean, there's so much that's going to be possible. It's just really exciting, and this is the beginning of it. I mean, this is table stakes, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I
um,
got to say the biggest thing you caught out there in the healthcare world is when they engage with you and you're able to say, "Hey, Elbridge, I see that you had interest in this because you did engage with our chatbot at this time, and
right,
then you spoke with our live chat agent. And you asked questions about billing. In another instance, you asked questions about an appointment. Let me see if I can close that out and help you with it." So, what they take away immediately is that warm handoff. And you know what? You know me. Patients want to
right.
know they're being watched over, right? And I know
Yes.
we're getting off on the healthcare piece of it,
No,
but that's
no,
what's
I
important
mean,
here,
it's so
regardless of the
important.
customer.
So important, right? Like when I think about Delta and Amazon, like that personalization, the kind of the thinking about what's next, like what I would want next, and trying to manage that expectation, the continuity of knowing what I was talking about. The worst customer experience ever, right, is like
Mhm.
going down a route with either an IVA or a human being transferred and then having to re-describe everything. Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah, I
So
mean, that's why we're
the
doing what we're doing, right? To try to close the gap on that. No one likes to have to repeat and start over from scratch. That's usually where you get a hang up. And look at the type of customers we have today. I mean, me, if I pull up at the gas station, if I can't engage with the device, use my credit card, I drive away. I
right.
go to a different gas station. So,
And this is an interesting one too. I know you guys shared this regarding the fact that
oh,
the
this is great.
availability, right?
Oh, this one's here is great because as you know, what you can see is that patients or your customers want to engage with you 24 hours a day. So you look at it every day of the week, including the weekends. And this is to everybody out there. This is why we're actually creating these channels. This is why we're making it not based off human beings needing to be at work and needing to be involved. We have to use technology to engage the patients at the time they want to be engaged and how they want to be engaged. You see on the right side, hours of the day, patients are engaging with us at 2 a.m.
Right. Well, I think about myself, right? I cannot do anything other than what's right in front of me during the day. I have no time to think about my health, unfortunately, right? Beyond like what I'm trying to eat better on the road. But I do a lot of my, scheduling and stuff like that in the evening. So, I mean, if I don't have access to that, it's a
I mean, if we
disservice,
didn't have these tools, we would not know this,
right?
right?
Um, this was very telling too when you shared this with me in regard to where you guys moved from 23 to 24. Um, just
Yeah, I think this is a very nice one here to show because our click breakthrough. So summer of 23 to the summer of 24, pretty much right now, you see. Back in 23, when you started, the biggest click that we're getting and call to action was I want to call my provider. That's what they were interested in doing, is calling a provider. That's why they're engaging with us, right? Now it has moved to book by chat. That's a major accomplishment. But here's the insight on that I want to share with you. So what that tells me is that the patient now can find the provider. They can find a provider that meets their insurance needs. They're able to get this information by themselves and determine the office that that provider's at, that's closest to them, and at the right time of day via the tools we provide and via chat. So that's really good, right?
it's great. I
Major
mean, it's
accomplishment for us.
and actually we had a question from Sheldon. Is our Hyro chatbot also integrated with Epic's mobile app? So with my chart, did we roll out the mobility feature
We are
with
we are
Hyro?
moving that direction now. We are moving that direction.
So
So
that is
that
an option,
capability,
Sheldon.
we're told it's possible, and we're moving that direction too. So
And I think there's a significance to that when we talk about the continuity of the experience across channels. So voice, digital, mobile, social, right? How am I creating a consistent experience?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
It
then
has to be completely consistent, regardless of how they engage.
are you considering texting as another integrated channel for patients?
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So as we get a little bit further, we were going to talk about that Hello World. So Hello World is a tool we use within our EHR. I'm sure
Yeah.
many of you are looking at those type of tools, right? So we use two-way text, and that brings that ability for a patient to be able to schedule an appointment, reset their MyChart passwords, ask questions to their doctors. Now we're in process of building some of that out, but right now we do have two-way texting. We have reminders right now with patients. They can engage with us with certain types of questions. Where is this located? How can I get there? Things like that.
Right. Um, we had another question about percentage of potential customers who prefer not to interact with the available tech. I mean, I think that the the CTA quick breakdown actually kind of speaks to that in regard to the percentage that chose to call the provider.
Yeah, I mean, if you look
So
at it here, you see that we went up. I'll scroll back so I can see if we're good. So you'll see that we went up a very significant percent, but there's still 0.1% of this overall population. So 80 some percent prefers not to engage with actually 80 some percent prefers not to engage with a human. So that's a pretty big deal, 86%. So previously, we had at least 40% that wanted to engage with a human. Yeah, at
Yeah.
least 40 some percent that preferred to engage with humans. So that's a big jump, 50% improvement, really.
Yeah, and I
Oh,
think this
I guess
slide
just as good
also,
metrics here, just in general. So you're seeing we're
right,
trending up year over year through the use of the tools. We're saving hours of time by not using agents or human beings. This number doesn't look huge, right? But when you fluctuate, we use an average number throughout the whole year. You notice I talked about 8 minutes earlier. That fluctuates. It goes up and down depending on what's going on for that part of the year. So in the flu season, I imagine that's going to be different. In the vacation season, that would be different. In the summer, while all the kids are getting rambunctious, that would be different. So
right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's significant to note because some of the biggest opportunities for health systems in regard to operational efficiency and cost reduction, right? That's achievable now, right? It's accessible now, is in workforce and automation and operational improvements. So I mean, this is real dollars and cents, right? Um, so um, so I know we have about 7 minutes left. This time's flew by. So um,
if
I
you
just,
go
I
down
mean,
to that last slide, if I could take 1 minute, go down to just some key initiatives that we have. I just wanted to speak to one thing. So if you look at
please,
I know we talked some about the other ones. We talked about application rationalization. That's smothered around here. I know this would go out and be available to folks. But if you look at that far right side, what's important, it demonstrates here how you engage with your patients. We're some of the first that are doing this. Obviously, we're using CRM, Epic CRM, but what we're doing is we're pulling in prospective patients. We pull that information in and we connect with them via a social network, being Facebook. We also we use geofencing. We're able to get address information. We engage with them with mailers, and after the mailers, they go out and do say surveys on our website, surveys say at Facebook. We gather that additional information, and suddenly all of the other tools open up, and we're able to engage with the patient via our apps, our SMS, our voice assistant. It just opens up the floodgates, right?
yeah, absolutely. And I think as we trend towards these more engaged and personalized experiences, the the engagement via the channel of my preference becomes less of a nuisance, right? Because I'm 37, in a few years, I'm going to be needing to get some certain procedures that men my age need to look into. If my healthcare provider knows my age, knows my stat, I mean that's an easy one, right? Because it's just triggered by age. But basically, being able to continue to look at multiple factors and leverage that to create a more personalized experience in that outreach,
I mean,
I'm so
if you
much more
think
apt
about it
to
too, right?
engage.
You use these tools to engage with the patient for their entire lifetime. So if you are in college, you have different needs, right? How you want to engage.
Right.
So you're always on the move. You're up all hours of the night. When you move to being a mother, you want to have that program readily available to you, what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, and being able to engage continuously with your provider. And then when you become of age and you have these other ailments, you want to know someone's watching over you. It's impossible to have a human being do all of that for you. Patients want to have that access regardless of where they are. So it's important that we as an industry continue to develop these things.
100%. Any other questions? I know we have 4 minutes left here. I mean, Albert, you just nailing it. I will say, these are some of the leading CX advancements we're seeing. Like we talked a lot about conversational AI and virtual assistants, intelligent routing, but speech analytics and sentiment detection. So leveraging the understanding of patient correspondence at scale to help craft the way that we're engaging with patients in the future, right? So letting the voice of the patient guide how we're crafting those journeys and the options that we're allowing people, and then actually being able to measure as we implement automation or other features and functionality, the impact that they have on the patients that we serve by way of the difficulty or level of engagement. Predictive analytics and proactive health management, right? So kind of what I was saying before, anticipating those patients' needs, getting into more of the metrics and proactive outreach, RPA, more self-service,
Well, I mean, the
knowledge
comment you made
management.
earlier about picking up voice inflection, I think that is key, right? So it's just how these advancements are coming. You can hear that stress level, and we can go from that directly to an agent.
Yeah, and the other cool thing is with the workshop program, we're ultimately going to be able to embed that in Epic. So we're going to be able to embed sentiment in CRM, right, and be able to click on analytics and sentiments as a continuation of the patient record in the CRM. To that end, just some of the first up parts of the workshop integration with a couple of the leading CCaaS vendors. Inbound and outbound CTI, IVA, diverted call tracking, agent status syncing between Epic and the platforms, live chat agent assignment, predictive dialing from work queues. I think that's a really important one. Embedded call controls within Cheers and Call Hub. Triggering of dynamic hub workflows, and I mentioned the analytics and sentiments. But I know we're almost up on time. If anyone is ever interested in kind of going down the rabbit hole, so to speak, you can tell that I love this stuff. So always happy to talk more about this subject. I mean, Elbridge, you're such a rock star. I'm grateful to have this collaboration with you, my man.
No, thanks everyone for your time today. I'm happy to be here and being able to speak with everyone. So thank you.
And Madeline, we'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much to both of you, Elbridge and David, for such an insightful session. If you have any last questions, now is your last 10 seconds to type them in the chat. Give it a quick second to see if anybody has any. Okay, and if not, there you go, a big thank you. And if not, we'll see you all in the next session. Thank you guys both so much. Have a great day, everyone. See you in the next session.
Take care.